I got posted as president of 12 SSB in Bangalore. And during that time, I have interviewed 2,500 people, means actual interview, then seen more than 20,000 people through various stages. In SSB terms, this is known as Manasa Vacha Karmana. Don't have to give up. If you feel that your test has not gone well, don't give up. Don't give up. It may be totally different because that person who is assessing you, he may have looked at you totally different.
Single performance can impress. A pattern reveals character.
So one misconception is that if I am like that, I will never make it. The misconception is that if I have not made it once, I will not made it in the second time. Don't go unprepared because there will be candidates who are very well prepared.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Inside the SSB Live. A few days ago, we released episode 2 of the Inside the SSB System, where we tried to answer a question that almost every defense aspirant asks. Why does the SSB last 5 days? We discussed why the SSB is not built around, isolated performances, but around dates, understanding the human potential through multiple observations. It's built over 5 days to a very, very interesting and a very practical system. And today, however, I wanted you to hear that perspective from someone who's actually been part of the system. It is therefore my privilege to welcome Commodore Pankaj Singh, ex-president of the Services Selection Board, SSB, who has spent years involved in the assessment and selection of future officers. Commodore Pankaj, a very warm welcome to Inside the SSB Live.
Thank you, Tipsy. Thank you for having me on your channel and connecting with your viewers.
Excellent. Let's set the ball rolling, Pankaj. Pankaj, incidentally, is my course mate from NDA. Pankaj, many of our viewers may not be familiar with your journey. So could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your association with the Services Selection Board?
Yeah, thank you, Tipsy, for giving me this opportunity once again. I belong to a place called Riva, which is in Madhya Pradesh. And it got famous at least in military circles recently because both the previous chiefs, that is Chief of Naval Staff and Chief of Army Staff, both of them belong to this place.
Wow.
And I happened to study in the same school where they studied, and they were 2 classes senior to me, that is General Vin Dwivedi and Admiral Tripathi. So it was a privilege to be part of the same organization which has given 2 chiefs at the same time, and which is a very historic, of course.
Right.
So I also studied in Sainik School. That means I joined in 1976. And in fact, we have just celebrated our 50 years of joining the school. Means after joining the school, it's 50 years today. And so we just had a golden jubilee celebration class.
Okay.
And I passed out from my school in 1983 and joined NDA, of course.
Right.
We were together in NDA, and I belonged to the Lima Squadron. And my service was Navy.
Okay.
And in the Navy per se, I got commissioned in the executive branch of the Navy. So my service has been primarily on board various types and categories of ships since 1987. I specialized within executive branch. I specialized in undersea warfare.
Okay.
So in 2013, after finishing all my appointments, means operational and staff appointments, then I had an opportunity to opt for becoming an assessor in the SSB. And considering my seniority, I got posted as president of 12 SSB in Bangalore in 2017.
Right.
So I was president from 2017 till 2021. That is the time when I retired. And during that time, I was primarily an interviewing officer, but I was president of the board, overseeing its entire functioning. That means all aspects of board functioning. In fact, one of the things I always felt very good about is my aim was to make sure that maximum people get selected from my board.
Right.
And during that time, I have interviewed around 2,500 people, means actual interview, then seen more than 20,000 people through various stages. And after retirement, of course, I've been involved in mentoring, training, leadership, development with various institutes, private institutes, online platforms. And in fact, today also I've done 2-3 interviews since morning. And this is my third online session with you.
Absolutely. And to the audience, and of course, welcome, Roop. You're one of the, you're turning out to be one of my most loyal followers, loyal friends. And it's nice to see you on board. Welcome on board, Roop.
Thank you, sir.
And, absolutely. And for the rest of us who are watching or who will be watching later, Firstly, I'll clarify 2 points. One, Commodore Pankaj Singh. This Commodore is a rank in the Indian Navy, which is equivalent to a brigadier, or all those of you who are not aware of the rank system. And secondly, I think it's much to our fortune that we could have got a better person, a better officer, a better assessor, a better IO, and a better president to come and speak to us and clarify all these doubts on day one itself. Later on, when we progress and we move into the various, the stages, and we come to the interview stage, I would request Commodore Pankaj to come once again and ask those basic doubts which I'm going to pose to him on your behalf. And you're also welcome to share those doubts with me or come online on this live webinar when we come to that stage and share your doubts and ask him, one-to-one exactly what you have in your mind. All right, Pankaj, to begin with this evening's, agenda, let's begin with the question that inspired this entire episode. Why does the SSB take 5 days? We've been harping on this, that, every other thing, it just requires one interview, one first impression, and then that's it. The things are decided then and there. But what is the broad objective behind designing such a comprehensive assessment instead of relying on just one or two interviews? Please elucidate that.
It's a very good question. And in fact, I think there's the only such system in the world probably where governments takes responsibility for those 5 days of your travel, stay, food, accommodation, and then conducts a test on you, and eventually some of them who get selected. Because I don't think there's any such system which is functional in the world where there's so much effort taken to select people for armed forces. But to begin with, let me tell you, it is the whole process is 5 days. Whole process is 5 days, but actual testing happens only over 3 days. And as we have covered in the previous episode also about stage one. So first day is primarily a stage one, which is a screening process, and it has nothing to do with SSB assessment. That means assessment which will make you, which will recommend you or not recommend. So you can actually remove day one, which is only meant for stage one. And I'm sure you'll have a session on stage one because that is also an equally important part of it.
That's to follow, yes.
Yeah. So your SSB actually starts on day two. Day two is the first day, and day three, then second day and third day. So the testing happens over a period of 3 days. And the fifth day is also actually a declaration of result day. That means only process which happens that day is a conference. And it is kind of collection of result, collation of result, right, discussion among assessors, and finally declaring the result. As far as declaration of result is concerned, I think we need to have another session. So it's an assessment over 3 days.
Right.
And why do you need 3 days? Because you've been through NDA, I've been also through NDA, and if you recall those days in NDA, and if you remember ever going to Sudan Block Central Lobby, isn't it? A very important inscription written on the wood there, isn't it?
Yes.
And for your viewers, I'll read it out, and what it says is, the safety, honor, and welfare of a country comes first, always, and every time. And the second line says, the honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command comes next. And your own ease and comfort and safety comes last, always, and every time. So these are very important sentences which are written there. And an officer is supposed to follow it to its core. From the time he puts on his uniform, he puts on his stripes, puts on the stars, till the time he hangs his uniform, he's supposed to follow these tenets to its core.
Absolutely.
So the whole philosophy of selection is based on this, that we need a person who can follow these basic tenets. And in short, we can say service before self, means service to the country.
Absolutely.
That takes priority. It says, if you remember the last few words, which I always insist on, always and every time.
Always and every time.
Isn't it? It has got very deep meaning. Isn't it? It has got a very deep meaning. That come what may, you always have to give priority to something which is in your hand, the task which is in your hand, and which is for the country. So that is the basic tenet based on which SSB is designed. So now they wanted people to have these kind of qualities. So how do you come around? You need a personality type. That means they have to decide what is personality type which is required for people who can meet these requirements.
Right.
This is how it started. So it started, of course, long back. Second World War time, I think British designed this system. They brought out the system of OLQs. They call them officer-like qualities. In simple terms, in today's term, I would call them more like job description, isn't it? In a corporate world, when you hire a person, you lay down a job description, isn't it? He should be able to work on C++. He should be a good team member. He should follow some financial management. These are the qualities which are required. Maybe a sales manager will require different qualities. So the defense community was asked, what are the qualities you would like to look in an officer? So they came out with some 150, 200 qualities. And these qualities were condensed into 15 officer-like qualities. So this is the personality type which is required for an officer in armed forces. And then they had to work out a system how to assess these personalities. So the process, 5 days, assessing the 5 days, basically assessing a personality of a person.
Right.
And like you brought out in your previous session, something very, very simple, 2 lines about personality. I'll just cover 2 lines about personality.
Sure,
What
sure,
is
please. Yes.
personality? Isn't it? So since we are assessing personality for those 3 days, what is this personality? No two people in this world are same. We have maybe 7 billion people. What was the total extent? 1/6 are Indians, of course. But still, even identical twins are also not same. Isn't it? They may be identical physically.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that means every person has something unique about him. Isn't it? So something unique about you, me, you, everyone. Then after the uniqueness, what is it? That uniqueness has to have some consistency. Like you said, behavior pattern, isn't it? So it is a very unique and consistent pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting or behaving.
Okay.
This is a very simple term. There can be very complex definitions of personality, but what you're looking at, something unique in you,
Right.
something consistent in you, and something which meets my requirement. And what is my requirement? Services requirement. That means I am looking for these qualities, and they should be consistently showing in you in various tests. First thing, they should be showing and they should be consistent. And then you are considered fit for selection in the armed forces. So this is the basic tenet on which the whole system is designed. And then they work around designing the system and how to look at the 15 qualities, technical part of it. Psychologists and PhDs and all these people, they got together and then they came out with this pattern of testing, which I'm sure we cover later on because it's again a complex phenomenon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Today's just the curtain raiser. We're just hopping on why those 5 days are required for the SSB. Now, Pankaj, before we understand how the SSB assesses candidates, shouldn't we first understand what kind of officer the armed forces are trying to select? How did we arrive at the concept of OLQ? You referred to it very briefly. You can throw some more light on this, and how are values such as service before self reflected in the selection philosophy? I mean, how do you, over those 3 days now, first and the last day are gone, as you said. So over 3 days, how do you make a solid assessment of a young boy who comes to you, whether this boy has got the beans in him to become a good, effective officer of the Indian Army? How do you do that?
Okay. So now again, I start with the term personality, isn't it? I dwelt briefly on it, personality. Now, assessment of a personality is not a very simple task. And I use this word assessment. Why is assessment?
Right.
Because it is never finite. It is never in black and white, isn't it? Assessment of a person. Assessment is different from measurement. It is not called measurement of personality. Measurement is something very finite, isn't it? You measure something 10 feet, 5 inches, 5 feet, 10 inches.
Right.
But assessment is something has got a lot of areas of gray. So when you assess a personality, there are a lot of areas of gray which exist. I can never say finitely, yeah, this person is like this. Yeah, maybe he's behaved with you in a particular way. And so it doesn't mean that he's like you. Maybe he's different with his friends. Isn't it? So assessment of personality is not finite and it is very complex. It has to be, and so to assess a person's personality traits, those 15 officer-like qualities, we have to design different scenarios. You have to come out with different scenarios. You want to assess these people.
Right.
In SSB terms, this is known as manasa vacha karmana. That means a person has his man has to be assessed. Manasa, actually man, but it's mind. Isn't it?
Okay.
Manasa
mindset.
vacha.
Okay.
Mindset.
Okay.
Then vacha means you assess him when he's talking. Manasa vacha And third thing is you assess while he's doing some task, karmana.
Right. Right.
So they came out this philosophy that you have to look at this, you have to look at a person face to face. That means when he's talking, you look at the person faceless. That means when you tell him to write something, like give him a test
Okay.
and bring out certain qualities. That is manasa, that is psychology test. So the manasa is psychology test, vacha is interview test, and karmana is GTO test.
GTO. Right.
So you look at these 15 qualities, officer like qualities under these three scenarios. Okay. Everyone has got the same goal. All the three people have got same goal. That means one person is looking at the 15 qualities in you while he's talking to, like I'm an interviewing officer, so I'll talk about interviewing officer first.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at those 15 qualities in you. Your psychologist, he gives you a battery of tests. These battery of tests are designed in such a way that they're supposed to bring out those qualities.
Right.
In fact, the interview is also designed in such a way that it is supposed to bring out those qualities. It is not unrestricted interview.
Okay.
It is not like we are talking today. We also have a structure.
Yes.
So that interview also has an structure.
Right.
An interview has to be conducted in that structural pattern so that to bring out this quality. Similarly, psychology test is also designed in a particular way so that you bring out those 15 qualities. And GTO test, of course, is designed in a particular way to bring out the 15 quality. But all three of them are acting or assessing a candidate differently in a different scenario. They are not in touch with each other while they are conducting an assessment. They never discuss each candidate with each other.
Right.
So actually, each assessment happens only that during that period of time. Means interviewing officer assesses him for 45 minutes, 1 hour. Your psych test happens over 2.5 hours. Written test. Your GTO happens over 2 days, but 4 to 5 hours per day.
Okay.
So this is how it happens. And what is the philosophy that why it can't be done in one go? Like it is something related to your previous question. Because when you're putting a person, when you're assessing someone's psychology or personality, you're putting under a lot of mental pressure. Okay. And when he's under a lot of mental pressure, and after he finishes the test, you have to give him a release. Because if you keep conducting these tests continuously, it may impair his cognitive abilities.
Right. Right.
Memory, tag, logical reasoning, and all these things.
Right.
So that's why these tests are conducted over a period of 3 days, so that during that break period, he's actually recovering.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, the same thing could have got over in 1.5 days or something like that.
Correct. Absolutely.
In emergency situation, probably it can be done also.
Absolutely.
So this is how the system is designed. Everyone is carrying out assessment separately, and then they get together, and then they come to a process of consultation. So it's quite a democratic process. I think we can keep this for some other time because that is some other is the entire process on its own.
Yes. Yes.
And then they come together and then they decide whether the person meets the requirement or not.
Okay. Okay. Right. Pankaj, that's well said. I've understood exactly how the whole thing is done. Now, once the desired officer profile has been established, the next challenge must have been designing a fair assessment system. So could you please explain how assessors themselves are prepared to take on such, it's a very complex task. It's a very complicated task. And how the different assessment techniques together build a reliable picture of the entire candidate. How do the three assessors, namely the GTO, the psychologist, and the interviewer, how do they come together and form, a positive or a negative picture of the candidate about his suitability or trainability as an officer of the Indian Army?
Okay. So like you said, there are three systems, and all these three systems are very independent. Very independent. That means they have no relation with each other. They work independently in their own capsule. They only interact with each other. How these people are prepared? They have a separate training. So there is an organization known as Defense. DRDO has got its own organization of psychological research.
Right.
So they conduct this training. They conduct this training for people, separate training for people who have come for interview officer job, people who come for GTO task, and people who come for psychology. There are civilian psychologists too who have directly been hired by DRDO. They are also part of SSB.
Okay.
So SSB is a combination of three sets of people. Okay. One is of course the president. Then there are other set of interviewing officers also, 3-4 of them. There are 3-4 GTO group testing officers, and there are 3-4 psychologists.
Right.
Psychologists can be a combination of service psychologists who are known as technical officers, or they can be civilian psychologists who are part of DRDO organization. So they conduct a theoretical training at that institute. And after conducting, they have to qualify the theoretical training. It is not easy to clear the theoretical training because they also look at your aptitude to conduct this test. Okay, not everyone qualifies these theoretical training, whether it is interviewing officer. It is unlike other defense courses, by the way, very different from other defense courses,
Right.
where you actually have to spend a lot of time studying. And then some people, in fact, in some of the tasks like GTO is one of the toughest course, and almost 50% people who qualify to become GTO is actually less than 50%.
Okay.
So they go through this testing. So there is a theoretical test, there are exams, and then you go for a practical training. Now, practical training for these tasks is like a pilot training.
Okay.
That means it is one-to-one training.
Right.
So as an interviewing officer, I'll go to one of the boards, functioning boards, operational boards, and I'll be nominated a training officer. That means one of the existing interviewing officer will become my training officer.
Okay.
So with him, I have to conduct around 50, 60, 70, total around 60, 70 interviews with him. Start with very basic, and then he'll give you control. Although the final assessment always rests with him,
Right.
but he will slowly and slowly hand over the control for you to conduct that interview thoroughly.
Right.
And then you work with another interviewing officer because you have to learn with someone else also, because whatever you say, there are objectivity. Attempt has been to bring a lot of objectivity into the system, but final assessment is always subjective. Okay, despite OLQs and marking system and all the system marking, total marking, aggregate marking, eventually it rests with that decision, rests with that interviewing officer, all the GTO. So then you work with some other interviewing officer. Similarly, GTO also goes for his training. His training is the longest, and his training is the toughest also, because see, in interview at least you're talking one-to-one. It's a different, they're all different techniques. It is not that one is better than other. But in GTO, you have to observe 10 people at a time.
Yes.
And while all the time, while taking notes, observing and taking notes all the time.
Absolutely.
So it happens to be one of the toughest. So then you undergo the training. You spend around 2 to 3 months, depending on which board you've gone. And then you qualify to become one of the assessors. And once you qualify, then you are posted to boards to carry out your task of assessment. So this is how the system works. Now what happens now, as I said, there are 15 OLQs, there is a marking system, there is a total marking, there is a pass mark, all these systems exist. I will not get into the details of it, but there is a system like this exists. So once you come to your conference, you come with your dossier of each candidate. That means you have observed a candidate over 2 days, 1 day, 3 days. You write an entire report on him, his personality assessment, you do a marking system, you come to this, and then you come to the conference. There is a system of clearing candidate there also, and it is not very straightforward.
Okay.
कि तीनों के मार्क ऐड हो गए, टोटल पास हो गया, पास. It is not that straightforward. There also there is a lot of discussions happening.
Right.
I think this is a part which because it is all related to other techniques per se. So once you cover each and every technique and then you come to the entire thing, then it will emerge in a better scenario.
Right.
So then in that part, simplest thing is all three have cleared, and then of course you've cleared. But the complications come that, as I said, personality is not something very finite. Isn't it? You also have a personality, I also have. If I suppose I get a candidate from my place, of course I'll get biased.
Yes.
Isn't it? There's no doubt my mind, whether I like it or not. Attempt is made to ensure that these things don't happen. That means whoever decides that I have interviewed 10 candidates, if he sees that one of the candidates is from my Sani school, Riva, so they will ensure that he doesn't come to me.
Okay.
Okay. Or he may be coming for the second time. So if he's come to the same interviewing officer, they'll ensure that he doesn't go to the same interviewing officer.
Okay.
So all these steps are taken to ensure that the bias part is removed.
Right.
But still, it's an assessment. It's a personality assessment. It cannot be like assessing a physics, chemistry, maths paper. So at times, some people say he's very good. Some people say he's missing on something. Various scenarios can emerge within three people. Various scenarios emerge, and there is a system of discussion, system of marking, system of, in the sense, at times, it is not necessary that everyone has to pass of a person to pass. So to tell you the truth. Isn't it? So basically, you don't have to give up. If you feel that your test has not gone well, don't give up. Don't give up. You may feel that test has not gone well, but it may be different. It may be totally different, because that person who is assessing you, he may have looked at you totally different. You may feel that this task mere se acha nahi hua. But he's not looking at that one particular task. As you brought out earlier, he's looking at a consistent pattern of behavior.
Right.
Or just you're not able to give one particular answer in your interview. and you feel very let down, it may not be the truth. He may have already finished your assessment by that time. Because the assessment of your life, it is not assessment of one question here or there. So
Absolutely.
after assessment, it's a consistent pattern has to emerge.
Absolutely.
So it is not based on, it is not that only all have. So in short, there are discussion. It's not necessarily everyone has to clear a person for person to be clear. There is a system of moderation at various levels. And then they take a very democratic call there for a candidate to get selected.
Right. I think we will leave it at that because I think you can share a lot of, the innate knowledge on this, but we will come to it at a subsequent stage when we come to that stage of, let's say, interview or the conference. For now, also, Pankaj, I would like to share it with you and the audience that from this episode, of course, is the first one, I'm going to introduce a new segment which is called Field Note. And I am going to feature this in every Inside the SSB live session. I will read out one sentence from this month's episode and request your thoughts on it. So the sentence is, a single performance can impress, a pattern reveals character. Would you agree with this? And how does that sentence reflect the philosophy of the Services Selection Board?
It is very much relevant because if you talk about interview, he's not looking at your one performance in your life, or he's not looking at your one correct or wrong answer. His assessment is not based on mathematical summation of various things you have said.
Right.
His assessment is based on integration of various things which you have said. Mathematical summation and integration, when you finish the interview, he puts all his thought together, he has listened to you, then he comes out with an overall personality profile based on whatever you said. So it's a pattern which is, he's looking at a pattern. If he feels a odd pattern, he'll always try to confirm that pattern, odd pattern. If he sees a good pattern, he'll again like to confirm that good pattern also. It is one odd incident, or it is a flash in the pan, or it has been happening consistently. I'll give an example. Your 10th performance is a 98%, isn't it? Your 12th performance 95%.
Right.
Your graduation 85%. It's a pattern, isn't it? It doesn't happen by fluke, isn't it? That means you're hardworking. Simple, very simple. To give you a simple way, it's your hard work which is showing. Again, your performance in competitive exams. I'll add something. Your performance in competitive exams. It's a pattern. So he's looking at your pattern from your 10th standard till your college pattern, till competitive exams. He's looking at a pattern.
Right.
In GTO also, there are various types of tasks in GTO. There's some intellectual tasks, there are some field tasks or obstacles. But again, he's again looking at a pattern right from your, whether it's intellectual, he's looking at your intellectual ability, your practical intelligence, your peer group interaction is all pattern. Why do you have 12 stories in TAT or thematic perception test? Not 2 stories. Let him write 2 stories and derive a personality, because they're again looking at a pattern. SRT, the 60 situation reaction test, 60 WAT. Why? Because a consistent pattern has to emerge. So what you say is very correct. Consistency matters.
Okay.
In fact, the principle is, for interview part, it is known as behavior consistency principle.
Okay.
Okay. So you have hit the nail on the head. It is known as behavior consistency principle.
Okay. So that's very nice. Thanks for sharing. The last part, Pankaj, even I was not aware of. Okay. Pankaj, moving on. If there is one misconception about the Services Selection Board that you would like every defense aspirant today to forget about today's discussion, what would that be?
Okay. So one misconception is that if I am like that, I will never make it. My personality is like that. That is a misconception. The misconception is that if I have not made it once, I will not made it in the second time. And in fact, I will quote an example that most of the people who get qualified SSB, since I have access to all this lot of data, which I'll not share the figures, but most of the people who go for SSB, they clear the SSB in their repeated attempts, because a personality is always growing, isn't it? Personality is changing, especially the age which the candidates which go for SSB. That means from 18 years, 17 years onwards to 23. That is the age where the personality is forming. So don't make an assumption that if I have not been able to make it once, I will not be able to make it again, because I am like this.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to try and identify your weakness. The most important part of SSB is to identify your weakness and try and improve them. Try and work upon your weaknesses. So don't be under impression that email hoga nahi.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a very strong advice coming from an ex-president of the SSB. Now, finally, Commodore Pankaj, if every young defense aspirant watching us tonight remembered just one sentence from today's conversation, one takeaway, what would that be, according to you?
One takeaway is that most important part of any selection system is that you have to prepare for it. Don't assume things that I'll get selected by the way I am, because this is a time of raw information age. Raw information is available, so as I say, you have to identify your weaknesses and try and make effort. That means you have to prepare for it. Don't go unprepared, because there will be candidates who are very well prepared. So don't land up there unprepared and get lost, because not everyone is same. There are some people who are, just because who they are or where they come from or what kind of background they've had, what experience, they will qualify themselves.
Right.
But that percentage is very, very less.
Okay.
Okay, because we have also seen, and when you look at peer people, our peer who you've seen 60 years of life now, isn't it? Look at your peers now, and then you realize, okay, he's so good anyway. You appreciate, isn't it? Like Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral K.D. Swaminathan, he is so good anyway, and he has always been like he has always been like that. I always appreciate.
Absolutely.
I have always appreciated the way he is. So, but not everyone is him. Others have to try and become like him.
Absolutely.
So that means identify what you need to work upon. So that means you may need a guidance, you may not need a guidance. Some people qualify, so work upon it. Prepare yourself and go. Don't land up unprepared, because expectation in today's age is that you are well aware about what's happening about yourself, around you, isn't it? So that is a basic expectation from everyone.
Excellent. Now we come to the last part, Pankaj, where we invite questions from the viewers. Roop, would you have any question to ask Commodore Pankaj Singh?
No, sir. I'm good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Pankaj, I would ask a question on behalf of our viewers now. If the SSB is designed to observe candidates over 5 days, should an aspirant focus on trying to excel in every individual task, or should they focus on remaining authentic and consistent throughout the assessment?
Probably when you try and excel, see, there are different tasks, as well as different tasks about different roles. That means interview is one task. You of course have to try and do well. It is a complete picture of your own. It generates a complete personality profile on you. You can't compare the two. That means you can't compare between the three techniques. All the three techniques you have to try and do well. When you say individual task, I assume that it's GTO task, like GTO starts with group discussion.
Absolutely.
So there has to be a consistent pattern which has to emerge.
Right.
Okay, from beginning till end. So its consistency is important, and it's a matter of 4 hours. It's a matter of 4 hours in a day, isn't it? You start at 7 o'clock and finishes at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And you have to give it your best shot. You can't afford to relax during that time. That is sure. Or in the 2.5 hours of psychology test, you can't afford to let go. You have to give your best shot at each and every task. You can't say that I've done well in group discussion and next task I think I can relax. No, that cannot happen.
Okay. So it's not something like, when we used to prepare for exams, Pankaj, you would say, 100 marks ka hai, so I'll prepare for about 80 and score about 60 and I will pass.
No,
that's not the case here.
As I said, your assessment is not based on, suppose there are 10 tasks, isn't it? It is not a mathematical summation of marks which you got in 10 tasks.
Right.
It is integration of your qualities which have been observed over 10 tasks. And then your GTO comes with his final assessment. It is not that one may you got 9.5 and this time 2.5 and third 3.5.
Average ho jayega. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Commodore Pankaj, for sharing your experiences here, and more importantly, the philosophy behind SSB. Of course, this is just the beginning of this, the chain of this Inside the SSB live session that we're going to have. And of course, I would be requesting you to appear a couple of times more to clear our basic doubts and share your gems of knowledge that you have and that your experience has gained over the period of time. Today's conversation has reminded us that Services Selection Board is far more than a series of tests. It is a carefully designed system built to identify leadership potential through fair, structured, and independent assessment. I hope our viewers now appreciate not only how the SSB works, but also how importantly, why it has been designed this way over 5 days. Thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening. And of course, thank you so very much, Commodore Pankaj, for taking out the time and bringing out so much clarity in the process of the SSB. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Tipsy. So thank you for having me on your channel. And I'm sure we'll interact again and bring out some more clarity on this subject.
Absolutely. And of course, I would be requesting you again, my dear Cosmet, to come and clarify a lot of our doubts.
Sure, anytime.
Thank you very much. All right. For the viewers, if you haven't yet watched episode 2 of Inside the SSB System, I encourage you to do so. It's available live on YouTube now. It provides the complete context of today's discussion. Next month, we will continue our journey with episode 3. That will be screening, understanding OIR and PP&DT. I will not go into the full forms and the details of these. We will get into this when we come to that stage. The purpose behind day 1. That is the theme of our next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and remember, the SSB does not judge moments. It studies patterns, as Commodore Pankaj just told us. Good night, and thank you very much.